Come on in, come on in. Gather around the fireplace. I've got on my cozy gray sweater, so you know what that means. It's Real Talk Sunday. It's cold outside, but it's going to be warm in here, so let's jump right in. Today, we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of Black American women dating African men. Whew, this is already a hot topic. This is going to be a fun one. I have a lot of thoughts on this subject, and I think it's extremely important for us to explore both the good and the bad. So, no matter what you decide, I want to make sure that you are informed and that you are equipped to go out there and make things happen. So, first things first, this phenomenon of Black American women dating African men is not new. So, at least as long as I've been around the various circles, I have seen Black women dipping their toe into that African pond, but it has been picking up steam tremendously as of late, and Black American women are now really exploring their options and saying, hey, we have this large pool of men from the continent. Some of them are here in America, some of them are abroad. What can we do? So I think this is a powerful phenomenon, and I'm excited to see what comes of it. So let's jump into the pros. So the number one pro of dating an African man is that you are dating a man that comes from an established culture. And this is critical to the success of a relationship. I know we all think that we are individuals and we do our own thing and it's about you and it's about him, but in reality, the success of your relationship actually depends on a lot of factors, including the cultural mores, the social norms, and the values of the man that you're dating. So if you are dating a man from a culture where it's okay to call women B's and H's, then you're probably not going to have as respectful a dating experience as if you're dating a man from a culture where a woman is looked at as a wife and a mother and nothing less. So you already have a built-in cultural system that dictates how that man should be interacting with you. That gives you a foundation to know what to expect and what should be happening at the various stages of the relationship. For example, if you are dating a man from Nigeria, then you already know that in Nigerian culture, and we will make it a little bit specific, let's just say Yoruba, you already know that in Yoruba culture, it is very common for you to greet your elders by kneeling down. And so what you can expect is that when he comes into the presence of an elder, he's going to carry himself with decorum, with respect, and with all the traditions that he has been taught. So that is a major pro. You're not starting from zero. Another pro of dating an African man is that they are less experienced, shall we say? We're gonna keep it PG-13, but they are less experienced oftentimes, in my experience, they are less experienced than American men in terms of dealing with a lot of women. So they're not coming to you with a preconception of who you are. They want you to show them who you are. And so, from what I have seen in my time, American men will often size you up into a category in 5 seconds. Either you are a potential wife or you are a potential partner. You know what I mean? You're not someone that they take seriously. And they size you up based on a number of factors, some of which are problematic, unhealthy, and outdated, quite frankly. American men have grown up watching TV, watching Disney, so their idea of what the ideal woman is going to be influenced by a number of factors that may or may not work in your favor. However, African men, on the whole, tend to have grown up in a culture where you don't date that much. You meet someone and you are either serious about them or nothing's going to happen at all. And so that works in your favor, because then the man is dating you as the individual woman as opposed to dating you in a category. He's not looking at you as type A woman or type B woman. He's looking at you for the individual human being that you are, and that is a great way to start a relationship. And one more pro of dating African men is that they like bigger women. I mean, come on, we've got to have some real talk. I have never met an African man that did not like a woman with some meat, some fish, some macaroni, some greens, and all of that on her bones. They are very favorable to the BBW. They are very favorable to the thick and the well nutritioned. And this goes back actually to when there were a lot of famines in Africa, because a lot of the people who could not afford to eat very well and eat meat and protein and things like that, they would be very skinny. And so if you were on the bigger side, then that was a surefire sign that your family had enough meat and enough food and enough fufu and enough cassava and enough all of the good stuff so that you could be well fed. And they are very attracted to that. I mean, I have never met an African man who's like, I want a skinny woman. Now, do African men date skinny women? Of course they do. Do African men like fit women? Of course they do. But I'm just saying, in my experience, they are very open to the plump and and to the thick. And so if you are a thicker girl and you got a lot more meat on your bones, an African man will have no problem with that by and large. He will not be comparing you to a Victoria's Secret model because he didn't grow up with that. That's not what he saw. And so he's not going to be comparing you to a Disney character like an American man would, because when he was growing up, what he saw was a size 2. So if you are a thicker girl, an African man might definitely be the way to go. Now, let's flip the script and get into some cons, because we value balance on this channel. And so I wouldn't be keeping it real if I did not give you the raw side of things as well. So there are some cons to dating African men. And the first con is that just because he has a certain standard in his culture of how he treats women and how he responds to women, that does not mean he will apply it to you. Let me repeat that. Just because he has a certain standard of how he interacts with women in his culture, that does not mean he will apply it to you. He will see you as a foreign woman until proven otherwise. And so, what this means is, whereas he would not try to push certain boundaries with a woman of his culture, he will definitely attempt to push those boundaries with you. He would never consider taking the virginity of a woman from his tribe without marrying her, because he knows that that tribe is going to put fire under him. He has to be held accountable. And with American women, unfortunately, there is no system in place to protect us. And so he knows that most likely he can get away with treating you poorly. He can get away with maybe leaving you with a baby without marrying you. And there will be no consequence. There will be no consequence to his business. There will be no consequence to his status in society. And so you have to be extremely observant and extremely mindful of whether an African man is dealing fairly with you. If you notice that he treats the women in his culture with respect, he would never look at them sexually, he would never disrespect them, but when he comes around you, he's very touchy-feely, he has no problem cursing and using profanity, he has no problem taking in alcohol, he's overly sexual, then that's a no. So ensure that you are being treated at the same level as the women of his tribe. And if you notice that you are not, get out of there. It's not going to get better. Another con of dating African men is that you often don't know what the real deal is. And you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean by that? It's a cliche, but honestly, cliches have truth, and I have seen this up close and personal. Maybe I could do a story time on it one day, but if he is a man who has married someone for papers at any point in his history, run. That's a foul. Get out of there. Because if he is willing to lie to the government, lie on official government papers and documents in order to get citizenship, then what do you think he's going to do during the course of your relationship? Of course he's going to be willing to lie to you. This is a character test. And so you don't know the real deal. I've seen many women get hurt being with an African man where he told them that he had married some woman for papers and they didn't live together and they never consummated the marriage. Lies, lies, lies. If he married her, he has been with her and most likely will continue to be with her. And by the way, that entire hustle shows that he's not a good guy. So if you have any African man who is telling you that at any point he hooked up with someone for papers, it's a no-go. And ditto as far as having a wife back in his home country. Check things out. Ask questions. Look up records. Find out, because it is very difficult to know what you're dealing with when you're dating an African man. If you find that his stories are not adding up, if you find that he's going home to his village extremely often, if you see pictures of women or the same woman on his Facebook or his Instagram a lot, and every time you ask about her, she's his cousin, you probably need to X that situation. So a huge con of dating African men is that you don't know the real deal, and their families are not going to tell you. Their families are going to cover for them, they're going to lie for them as well, they're going to keep that from you. And so you just have to be extra vigilant and make sure that you ask questions and you follow up. And even if you need to keep a little journal, take a note of like, okay, he told me he doesn't have a wife back in his country, but I see he's going back to his country every month. What's up with that? So really dig deep in order to ensure that you know what's going on. And women, we have this funny little thing right in the pit of our belly. It's our intuition. Even if we can't prove it, we know when a man has another woman. So if you have that instinct that this guy has something else going on back home, just end it. You don't need to prove it to a judge or a jury. The fact that you're feeling that way is more than enough. All right, and the last con that we're going to get into about dating African men is the over sexualization piece. And so it is an unfortunate fact of life, but the Black American woman has been pimped out by her own men. Her own man has pimped her out on rap videos. He has pimped her out on adult videos. He has sold her in strip clubs, and he has degraded your image in rap music, which Black women, we need to talk about in another video, because we have allowed far too much degradation of our image to go on without raising the red flag. So African men have seen this. They have seen that you're okay with being called a hood rat. They have seen that you're okay with being called ratchet, with being called thought. And so they've seen that you are over sexualized. And so they're going to try to get sex from you as quickly as possible because they want to know if it's true. And so it's important to know that even with him coming from a different culture, his perception of you is not the same as his perception of women from his own background. He still sees you as a foreigner, and yes, he's going to try it. He's going to push your boundaries. He's going to test you. And my advice to you is to hold your ground, carry yourself like the lady that you are, and do not give into that. All right, so those are the pros and cons of dating African men. Did I miss anything? Is there anything we should add to this list? Let me know in the comments below. Bye.